about how to set up the Informatica virtual machine, and this part we'll see how to do this, and I'm going to show you the steps how you have to work with the VM and all those other details in this session. So the first is, like, you would have received a mail from the Tek Classes team that with 10 links or 11 links, whatever you have. So you need to open that mail. Each and every link or each and every file, you have to download it. And once you are ready with all the setup files, then only you can start with this. So your mail will look something like this. Let's say you'll have all the 4 sync links wherein you'll have all the 10 files. All the 10 files will be having a 1.5 GB size. And along with this, you also have to download the Vm Workstation. And the Vm Workstation license key is being provided here. And there is an attached document also along with this. So which will guide you to set up the VM. So anyhow, so we are going to talk about each and every step, how it is going to be done. So first, according to these links, you have to download all the files and keep it into a folder. Let's say if you go, and I have actually kept all the files into my folder here. So if you see all the 10 files I have downloaded, I have kept them to here. So if you see, I have 10 RAR files, and also along with this one Vm Workstation file, and there is a license key of file which is also being provided. So in order to cross check whether your downloads are proper or not, so what you have to do is you need to check the size of all these files. So except the 10th file, every file will be of 1.5 GB size, and your Informatica virtual machine part 10 is going to be the little lesser compared to all the other 9 files. And if you see the Vm Workstation 8.0, it will also look something like this, and you have a serial.txt. So once you are sure that you are ready with all the files here, then first step that you have to do is you need to extract all these files and create a virtual machine file. I mean, that is nothing but an Informatica VM dump file. So in order to extract it, what you have to do is, you don't need to extract each and every file here what is being downloaded. So it's a simple part. What you have to do is, you just need to use in case if you do not have a WinRAR in your machine, you need to download the WinRAR machine, and then you can extract only by using a WinRAR archive. So what you have to do for archiving for extracting all these files, you just need to select the first file. You don't need to extract all the files. So the first thing that you have to do is right click on the first file and use the option here as extract here. So when you use this extract here option, basically it will extract all the other 10 files and create a folder called as a info-VM. So if you see, it started creating the info-VM folder, and you just need to wait till it gets complete the process of extraction. So let's see how much, you need to wait, and then we'll talk about like how to proceed from this and after the extraction is done. So it started extracting the 6th file. So once it is done, we'll again get started. So meanwhile, what we can do is we can also get started with the Vm Workstation installation. See, basically before this file get extracted, we can install the Vm Workstation. So what you can do is, once the file is ready, just double click on the Vm Workstation file, and it will pops up the UI. And you just need to follow the instructions. So let's wait and then follow the instructions from here. A little time here. Yes, let's wait. Okay, so you see the VM something like UI user interface something like this for a Vm Workstation. What you need to do is just follow the instructions. When you click on next, there is an icon, that is called as a typical. So let's just select the typical option here. And once you select, it just says that you are actually installing the Vm Workstation into your local folder, and then just click on next. And from here, you can just uncheck this for a product updates on the startup. So you can uncheck this option. So click on next. and it's just the user experience or whatever, so you can just follow the instructions. So you select this one like so that it can create a shortcut on the desktop and then the menu folder and everything. So and then click on continue. It will take some time to get the installation done, so you need to wait for some time so that it can complete the Vm Workstation installation, and meanwhile we'll also this extraction also gets completed. So let's wait and see how this goes. So now it started performing. So let's see. Yeah. Now the setup is completed. So you can actually go back to your desktop and then see there will be an icon called as a Vm Workstation icon, right? So this icon will be there. So let's wait for till the end of extraction of your file. Still it is getting extracted. So it's probably extracting the 8th file, and you have 2 more files to get it extracted. So once it is done, we'll just log into the VM and see how we can start the services and start working with the VM on this. All right. So let's wait for some more time. Let it get extracted, and then we'll start. So now, when you go back to actually do this Informatica VM, so now the extraction is completed. So if you actually check this Info VM, the properties tab, like if you go to Info VM and then right click on it, it shows you as 29.2 GB. So if this size is correct, then only you can actually confirm that your extraction is proper, and make sure that this is of the same size after you extracting it. So this size, now you're good with it. You've already completed the extraction. So now what we do is we'll actually go back to your VM Workstation. So let's double click on that VM Workstation. Right? So double click on the VM Workstation and it opens up. Alright, so once it opens up, it's basically that you have to open a virtual machine that you have created. So what you need to do, just click on this Open Virtual Machine. Once you are on this screen, click on Open Virtual Machine, and it will ask you to locate the file of the VM configuration file. So go back to your Info VM latest folder, and Info VM folder where you have actually extracted it. So I have actually extracted in my I drive an Info latest VM, and I have a folder called as the Info VM here. So just double click on that, and you see the file called as Informatica VMX. So just select that file and click on open. So it basically loads up, and you see all the details here, and make sure that you allocate the proper memory to it. So if you do not have enough memory, so probably you can adjust the virtual machine settings and then go back and then do it. So how to check the memory? So it's that you go back to your computer, right click on the computer and then select the properties tab. So if you see that I have a 6 GB of memory here. So right. So let me go back. It's fine that if it uses 4.6 GB of memory for me. So now I'm having enough memory here, and to log into the machine, it's just that you have to use power on this virtual machine. Okay. So when you click on this power on virtual machine, you'll get the settings. So just choose the option as I copied it. All right. So it will take a little time now, and it will load the VM. So it will load the VM files and everything. So it's opening up, and you see the Windows XP screen here. That means it's logging in. So in order to get into the full screen mode, you can actually click on this. So now it is in the full screen mode. I can actually minimize and then do whatever I want. So it's just logging in now, right? Yeah. So it's logged in now, and now you see the VM icon, something like this. So VM window, something like this, wherein you have your SQL developer and you have a services icon. So in this VM, it's basically, so if I say to you, in this VM, we have actually installed Oracle 11G database. So Oracle 11G database is being installed. Oracle 11G. Alright, so 11G database, this is installed. In this VM, you also have an Informatica PowerCenter server. Alright, so one Informatica PowerCenter server, and you have Informatica PowerCenter client. So everything is installed in this. So Informatica, PowerCenter client, and all these are installed. And you have a SQL developer to connect to the VM. SQL developer to connect to database. So if you want to connect to the database, you have these things. So everything is available in this. So in order to start working on your Informatica, so PowerCenter, it's basically that we have created already the schemas for you. So it's basically for accessing the source database. So you're going to use the username as SDBU, and the password is also SDBU for it. So it's in the lowercase, and so it's basically the service name that what you're going to use. Service name is ORCL, which it is going to be there. Service name is ORCL, and the host name that you're going to use is the local host, because the database is installed in the local machine, and the port is going to be the 1521. So this is where all your source tables will be available. And for accessing the target database, so it's basically, so we'll have all the other things again. So let's say username, password will be different for accessing the target database. This is where your all the staging tables and the dimension and fact tables, everything will be available. So you have TDBU and TDBU, and you have ORCL localhost. So for accessing the source database, you need to use these credentials, and for accessing the target database, you need to use these credentials. So before starting with Informatica, let's verify whether our databases are working fine or not. So in order to check that, so database will be, as soon as you turn on the VM, database will be up and running. So you need not to start the services, but to cross check, you can just double click on this services icon. Basically it opens up all the services which are running on the VM. So I just want to check which you have, whether Oracle service is running or not. And if you see this Oracle service ORCL, this should be running, and there is another service called as Oracle 10G Home 1 Listener, DNS Listener. So these two should be running in order to connect to the database. So basically now these two are running. Let me check whether I can connect to my database or not by using my SQL developer. So let me just click on this icon to see whether I can connect to this SQL developer. So it's opening up. So you can wait a moment. So it's basically now our SQL developer is open. You can just click on this connections tab. You see all these connections which are already created for you. So in order to connect to the SDBU, so this connection is already created. In case if you want to create a new connection, you can just click on this plus icon and then see that. So if you see the properties, under the properties you have SDBU and the password is SDBU. In order to test it, so you can save the password for a future use, and the localhost 1521 and the ORCL is this success. So you're able to connect to the database which is there. I mean, let's say if you want to connect to and then see whether you have all the tables or not, you can just click on connect. Now SQL worksheet will be open. Alright. So let's say if you want to check the list of tables which are available here, you can even click on this plus button to expand it and check it. So if you just expand it, you'll be able to see all the source tables which we are going to use it for this case study implementation or for Informatica PowerCenter training implementation. So Informatica PowerCenter training, what I mean to say, so if you expand these tables, you'll be able to see all the list of source tables which we are going to use it for a data integration process. So this is a customer table, vendor table, employee, and everything is available here. Alright. So next thing is that similarly, if you want to check all the target tables, staging tables, and everything, so you have TDBU, you can just connect it. So TDBU and save the password. So just test it. You're able to connect and click on connect. It also opens up another worksheet. So if you want to check whether the tables are available in this, so you can expand all the table list and you'll see all the the different tables which are there, all the staging tables and the target tables, everything is available in this. So you have now the database is fine, database is up and running. So I can start executing the queries here. Let's say if you want to check whether, if I want to see whether I have a data which is available in my table, let's say invoice table. So I can just check it, and this will have a data which it is available. So I'm actually executing all the SDBU tables, source tables. I have a data here. Okay. So this is just an example. So similarly, you can also execute the queries for reading the data from your staging tables and the dimension fact tables after the data load. So my database is working fine. So what I see that database is working fine with these credentials. All right. So the next one is that I just have to start working on the Informatica. So concentrate, you have to actually, in order to start with Informatica PowerCenter, all right. So in order to work with Informatica PowerCenter, so it's basically, you have to first start the Informatica PowerCenter services. So how you're going to work, how to start the services. So again, you click on the services icon if it is not open. For me, it is already open here. So just open it and look for the service called as the Informatica 951. So it's basically Informatica 951 service which I have to start it. So just right click on it and click on start. So it basically takes time to bring up all your repository service and the integration service. And it depends upon the how much RAM that you're using. So how much RAM and what is the processor speed. It takes at least a couple of minutes. So 2 to 3 minutes it will take to bring up your services. So in order to make sure whether it is properly running or not, maybe after a minute you can refresh and check whether it is started or not. So once this process is actually started, all right, so wait for 2 minutes and all right. So once you have actually started, and check again whether your service is running or not after 2 minutes by refreshing, either by clicking on this icon or F5. So once you're good, it's basically that in order to log into the Informatica administrator homepage, that is nothing but the Informatica admin console, go to Informatica 951 and you have a server, go to server and click on this Informatica administrator homepage. So when you click on this administrator homepage, it basically opens up your Informatica admin thing in the this browser. So it's basically still, it is not up, even though I waited for 2 minutes, it is still not up. It probably brings up the services. So wait for some more time. Let's see that. All right. So we are actually going to check now how this is. So once you refresh the page and when you click on this administrator homepage, so it basically shows you the this option when you refresh it, and you can click on this continue to website, the recommendation, and you can open up the administrator homepage. So it's basically for accessing Informatica. So the username that you're going to use on the VM is your administrator, and the password is going to be admin, which is in the lowercase. So let me use administrator and then log in. So here you have administrator and password is admin. So just click on OK. It will open up the Informatica administrator homepage wherein you can observe a domain name, the list of repositories, integration services, everything that you can observe it here. So it's opening. So when you save, here you have the domain. Under the domain I have 2 repositories, ETL repo and info repository, and I have 2 integration services, and if you check, I have only 1 node and 4 services which are running on this. And this is the Informatica admin homepage. You can start playing with it. Whatever you want, you can do it. You can create a new repository service, new integration service, anything you want, you can do it as per your learning. So now once you are done with this, so the next step is that you need to start logging into the client tools. So let me show you how to log into the repository manager and how to create your own folder to start with it. So repository manager, so it's basically when you say that to log into repository manager, go to start all programs, Informatica 951 client, PowerCenter client, and you have a repository manager here, and click on this PowerCenter repository manager. So when you click on this, it takes a little time to open, and it opens up the Informatica PowerCenter repository manager, and you see two repositories here. Both of them are running. You can use any of the repository. Let's say, assume that, let's say I want to log into this repository. So just right click on it and click on connect, and enter the password as admin and click on connect. See, there are already some developed mappings which are available in this. Okay, so you can, if you just double click on this, you will be able to see the list of mappings, and even in this also there are a couple of mappings which are already present in this. So I want you to not use these mappings, and you can start creating a new folder here. So what you can do, you can go to the menu and then click on this, click on create. Let's say I'm creating a folder called as a Tek Classes. So you can also do that. And I would like to create a private folder, so I'm not selecting this allow shortcut option. So just do that and click on OK. Now you have this Tek Classes folder which is created. This is a new one, and you don't have anything to proceed further. So in order to do that now, so you have to start designing, creating the mappings and everything in this client tools workflows and then the monitor. So in order to open the designer, you just click on this designer tab. It will basically open up the designer. Alright. So when you click on the designer, so it opens up with all the folders, whatever you have. It will open up even the workspace as well, because your Informatica is a single sign-on. Now, my workspace is this. Let's say your designer has opened something like this. It hasn't logged. So now you open the designer. Let's say double click on this and enter the password for this repository and just click on OK. Let's say you have a folder Tek Classes. Right click on it and click on open. It opens up even this one as well. So this workspace, it will open. To start with the hands-on lab, it's basically that, as you know, you need to create a Source Dsn, and you need to create the target Dsn, create a target Dsn, and you need to create a connections in the workflow manager. So it's basically you need to create a source connection, and you need to create a target connection for a staging tables and all those things. So basically you're going to use this, and this things is a one-time setup. You don't need to do all the time. So how do I create the Source Dsn? So go to the designer and go to this and use the option import from database. So there are already the two DSN which is created. So if you want to use it, you can use it, or you can create a new DSN. So just click on OK and click on add. So select the data direct 7.0 Oracle wire protocol. So click on finish, and data source name is going to be, let's say, select it as OLTP source, and choose the same description, and host name is going to be the local host, and the port number is 1521. Let's say the SID is ORCL, and test the connectivity. Enter the source database name as SDBU and the password as SDBU. So when you click on connect, you should be able to see that connection is established. So just apply it, and now this DSN we are going to import all the source tables. So let me create another DSN for importing the staging and target tables. So click on add. Again choose data direct 7.0 Oracle wire protocol. So this time I'm going to enter it as, let's say, OLAP underscore TDBU or something. So whatever, or OLAP underscore target. And this is going to be, the description is same, and the host is again going to be the local host, and the port number is 1521, and the SID is ORCL. So when you test the connectivity, enter the target database username and password, click on this, and connection established, apply the changes and click on OK. So you have OLTP source and the OLAP target, so which it is there, and click on OK. Now in order to import the sources, so go and select OLTP source, enter the username as SDBU and the password as SDBU. So do not change the username and do not change the owner name. Alright. So now you have actually entered the username and password. Don't change the owner name. Owner name should be always in the uppercase. So go to SDBU schema and then import this invoice table. Let's say you want to do the hands-on lab. Import this invoice table and click on OK. So now that means your DSN is working and you are able to import the tables. Similarly, let's try to import the target table. So when you go to the target designer and go to targets, import from database, and here OLAP underscore target, the username is going to be the TDBU and the password is also TDBU. When you click on connect, it will give you the list of tables which are available here. So this is going to be the ODS invoice. So select it and click on OK. That means your target DSN is also working and you are able to do that. Right? So let's try to build a simple mapping and see whether the VM is working fine or not. So go to this, and first before proceeding with the mapping, you have to actually create connections in the workflow manager. So in order to do that, what I do is I'll open a workflow manager before I create a map. Before I create a workflow and the session. So I'm opening the workflow manager and we'll first create a connections and come back to this one. So let me open the ETL repo. So enter the password as admin. So click on this and open the Tek Classes folder again. So first you need to create a connections, right? So go to connections, create two connections, one to interact with the source system, other is to interact with the target. So click on relational and create a new connection. So that is OLTP source and OLAP TDBU is already created. So you can start using them or you can create a new connection. So let's start using them. So OLTP source, if you take a look at it, it is basically should be pointing to your SDBU schema. So let's check that. So it's hanged. Yeah, if you see, it is actually pointing to SDBU schema. You don't need to create a new. And then if you look at the OLAP TDBU, so it must be pointing to your TDBU schema as well. So now I have the connection, so I don't need to create a new one. So let me create a new mapping now. So go to the mapping tab. So go to mapping, click on create. So which I call it as M_ODS invoice. So click on OK. Now drag and drop your source. So drag and drop the invoice table and arrange it properly and load the data into the target table, let's say ODS invoice. I'm just showing you just to confirm that VM is working fine to start with a hands-on lab. So just connect all of them and save it. Now verify whether the mapping is valid or not. So once the mapping is valid, go and create a session and the workflow. So go back to the task developer and here you create a session. So click on create, enter the name of the session. So it's going to be the S_M_ODS invoice and associate with the mapping. So M_ODS invoice. So click on create and then done. Now you need to provide a connections for this. So double click on it, go to mapping and invoice is there in the source schema. So select it as OLTP source. And ODS invoice is there in the OLAP_TDBU. Since the ODS invoice is having index, I am choosing a normal mode. And before loading the data, I would like to truncate it and reload the data here. So just provide ODS_invoice.txt. Let's say it you want to provide a bad file and everything, and click on apply and click on OK. Now save it. You're done with the session. So create a workflow. Let's say work create and w underscore ods underscore invoice. So click on, so connect it with a session. So s underscore m ods invoice. So connect it with this, and let's try to load the data now. So in order to run it, right click on it, click on start the workflow. Now as soon as you do it, it will open up this one. So let's say you have, so there is an error. So we'll try to fix this now. So basically you have a child constraint. So let me just delete the data from ODS line item. So it's basically I'm deleting the data from child record to fix this issue. And similarly, I need to delete the data from, so delete from ODS underscore invoice. So it's basically, so this is a one. So commit it. Now let's rerun it and then check. So basically let me rerun the workflow. So again, so you might, this time it might load the data. So you have checked here 200 records, and 200 records have been loaded. And now if you see the source target statistics, let's say you want to check up the session log and everything, right click on this, click on session log, and workflow log, right click on it and get the workflow. So likewise, you can start and complete the hands-on lab. So as per it. So let's say if you want to work with the labs and all, so the labs, you can probably verify the labs, maybe the C drive as well. So if you go and see, you'll have an Informatica labs PDF. So you'll have all the labs and everything here. So you can start practicing all the hands-on labs. So this is how you can start using the videos. So whenever you turn on the virtual machine, always make sure that you start the Informatica services. If Informatica 951 service is running, then only you can log into repository manager or designer or anything. So otherwise you'll not be able to log in. So check it. So whenever you turn on the VM, always you need to make sure 3 services are running. So what are all the 3 services? So in case if it is not running, you can right click on it and then start. So the first one is Oracle Service ORCL, and another one is Oracle. So the other service what you have is Oracle NG Home 1 TNS Listener. So this service also should be running, and the another service is Informatica 951 service. So if any of these services are down, that means your Informatica will not work. So it's as simple as that. If you see all my services, this one, everything is running. That means every time you turn on the VM, so you always make sure that these services are up and running. Alright, so that's it. So in case if you want to power off the VM, let's say I want to close this, so just close. If you want to save, I don't want to save this, and if you want to disconnect from all the tools, so it's just that right click on it, disconnect, or you can just close as is. So let's say if I want to close them, so close all the tools and everything. If you want to do a proper shutdown and even the designer and everything, so let's say if you want to close even the SQL developer and everything, deselect all. If you want to save anything, you can do it. And once you close everything here, so the next step that you're going to actually check is that you need to power off the VM. So I'm going to show you now how you're going to power off the VM. So just go here. So if you see, click on this one. So there is an option called as a power on, power off. So just select that power off option and it will close the VM as is. So every time you want to log in, now from the next time onwards, let's say if I want to log into the Informatica VM. So what I need to do, so just double click on this Informatica Workstation, and and basically you need to select that. So it's taking a time here. One moment. So basically once it opens up, so just select the Informatica and power on this virtual machine. So this is how you can log in and then do it. So this is more about how to configure the virtual machine here into this. Okay. Thank you and happy learning.